Nice to meet you, Hauwa.
Nice to meet you.
Hauwa Abubakar, and you're known on social media as
Hauwa.
Hauwa. So, and she's a climate change activist, and she was just educating me like I may be learned to a large extent in many things as a parent, as a life saving expert, as a coach, as a leadership expert for more than 30 years, but I'm not learned when it comes to climate change. And I'm not afraid to say I don't know certain things, even if I'm learning from somebody decades younger than me. Like she's 29 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yes. Almost 30 years younger than me. So she's like so young, but she's so bright and so knowledgeable about this whole climate change thing. So Hauwa, let's just go down to basics. Maybe climate change for dummies, as we call it.
Yeah.
So what really is climate change all about? Educate us.
So the way the technical people like to define climate change is a long-term change in weather pattern, usually 30 years. So climate scientists would look at a specific area, specific community or location and compare the weather activities from now in 30 years, in a 30-year period. And if there's a significant change, then we say the climate has changed. So basically that's what climate change is. So why exactly is it a problem? It's a problem because very recently, since the industrialization of the world, the climate has been changing very rapidly. Like, obviously it's normal for the weathers to change, but it's not normal at this rate. So the smart people, the climate scientists, they came up with a theory that human activities is what is contributing to climate change. So the main problem in the whole climate change system is what we call the greenhouse gases. We're looking at methane, we're looking at carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is what we breathe out, so it's natural. And those greenhouse gases are necessary for sustainability on Earth. So without greenhouse gases, the Earth would be too cold for humans to even exist on. So they're basically what is making the Earth warm and livable for us. So they're good. But the problem is the level of greenhouse gases we have now and we're getting to is way more than nature ever intended. It's getting too much that it is now becoming harmful to the Earth. So that's why we see things like ice melt. That's when the ice melts, the sea level rise. Because there's some places on Earth that by nature, by design, we're just supposed to be always ice shut. Yeah. So when now they're melting, those water go to the sea level is rising, it contributes to flood, it contributes to so many things. And we also have areas on Earth where, because of this hotness that the Earth is becoming, we have bush wildfires. There's some areas that it is drought. The ground, no rainfall in a very long time. The ground is so dry, like literally almost nothing can grow in that area again. Like so many different locations, so many different communities have different ways they experience climate change, but all in all, it is still climate change. So what people do, the main type of climate action we see. So climate action is humans, good Samaritans, saying, okay, now this is happening. What can we do to stop this from happening or to adapt to what has already happened? That's when we talk about climate action. And then there are two types of climate action. We have adaptation and mitigation. So adaptation is, okay, this has happened. How do we live with this? And then mitigation is, how do we stop this from re-happening, or how do we basically how do we remove or stop this that has happened? How do we reverse it to the best way we can? So one of the ways of adaptation is the most popular climate action we have there is awareness. So basically talking to people about climate change, because a lot of people don't know what climate change is. The term,
So I'll pause you there. So that's really where we are having this discussion to understand on the base level what climate change is. So let me try to regurgitate what you just said, that climate change, as the word implies, so that it's simple for everybody listening, is basically the changes that happen in the climate, in the weather. Bottom line, as we breathe in air, as we breathe out, whether rain falls, whether sun shines as much, with the places abroad that they have winter weather and things like that, it affects the changes in weather across the world. That's
Yes.
climate change. And in the stats before, for environmentalists that have been studying how the climate works for years and years, and now, and even now still studying how the climate works, the shifts in the climate change used to be a 30 years markup. It used to
Yeah.
be every 30 years, but suddenly, not suddenly as in recently, the patterns have changed years previously, and they are noticing now that it doesn't take 30 years anymore. It's quicker, it's faster.
Yeah.
And that is what is making this awareness so important for humans to have that personal responsibility through
Yeah.
awareness of the dangers, the climate. If when the climate changes, is look, I think the concern for everyday man is, especially in Nigeria, I think what we need to really look at now for Nigeria, as a parent, I'm thinking school fees. I'm thinking putting food on the table. I'm thinking roof over my head. I'm thinking all these big things that are mainly social, economical,
Yeah.
and political. In a country like ours, Nigeria, what are you noticing on the field? Because on your page, I see you going to schools, I see you going to communities, creating awareness. So, what do you notice on the field? Do people really care enough to take that personal responsibility?
Yeah.
Or are people not showing much interest? And if it's the later, what other systems or processes can we put into place to help people have that personal responsibility?
For the climate.
Yeah.
So the 30 years span that's the standard of how climate is being measured. So the realization is before what would change in 30 years was not very significant. But now what has changed in 30 years is so significant. So that's the yes,
problem.
that's the problem
that's
now.
why they're
We need to
trying
tackle this
we need
as
to be more
yes,
cautious
yes.
and take
Because
it
the way
serious.
we're experiencing Earth in 50 years from now, the generations that are young people, it's going to be very unfair to them that they never get to experience the planet the way we are already experiencing because of capitalism, because we want to make money, we want to have many bottles, so many things that we know are causing damage to the earth. So it's it's going to be very unfair to those later generations to come, that they would be the ones suffering the consequence of what we're enjoying today.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a very big concern for people to start taking climate action. Now in Nigeria, like you said, in advanced countries, it's most people understand, but in Nigeria there's a lot of awareness program going on. Almost we have more than 1,000 climate NGOs in Nigeria doing awareness. Most of them are just doing awareness. But at Planet Cred, we notice a problem. This
So
awareness,
you have your own
yes,
NGO.
yes, Planet Cred.
Planet Cred.
Yes.
Wow.
So we notice the problem, like these people every day doing awareness. So what exactly is the problem? It cannot be more awareness because awareness has already, like, it's and the average Nigerian has definitely heard the word climate change before, but he doesn't just care. Because when we talk about climate change, mostly in Nigeria, we're talking about ice caps, polar bears, which are also important, but they do not reflect our realities in Nigeria. So he's looking for money, like he said, to pay school fees, to feed his children. So why should he care about polar bears in the Arctic region? It's not his business. So what we do at Planet Cred is we look at a specific community. How does climate change directly affect this community? So when we start talking to the community members, the young people, in the language that they already understand, oh, okay, you didn't go to school last week, flooding. Climate change causes that flood. So when we start bringing up conversation like that, they will sit and think, okay, this affects me directly, this affects me this way or that way or that way. So what we do is very different from what most climate NGOs do. We're not just going for awareness. What we do is we're localizing climate education. Because my famous quote, I like to say, when climate education is localized, climate action becomes inevitable. So you show a young person how climate change is affecting them, they would most likely want to take action because nobody likes being uncomfortable. So when you show them how climate change is making them uncomfortable, they would want to take action. So